Welcome. I'd like to call the Energy Awareness Commission meeting for Tuesday, November 9th, 2021 to order. First item on the agenda is the approval of minutes for the September 2021 meeting.
I'll make the motion to approve the September 2021 meeting minutes.
Seconded?
Have a motion and a second to approve the September 2021 Energy Awareness Commission meeting minutes. Any other questions or discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 2 on the agenda is Energy Service Report. Derek?
So I've compiled just a small list of some activities happened in the last few months, along with the balance sheet for September and October. So some things that have occurred or that will get scheduled that will occur is we're going to be having some steam audits this month, next week, 17th and 18th, probably at least 6 locations, maybe more, depending on how long they take. At least all downtown buildings will eventually be conducted, but we'll do an additional 6. So we did 13 2 years ago, and we'll do another 6 these 2 days. We have some energy audits at some townhomes on Cottonwood Street that will be done hopefully in the next month. Probably will come out of the 2022 budget because the 2021 budget, I didn't have any energy audits within that. So we'll take that from the 2022 budget, which will dry that up right away, which is fine. The Energy Awareness Commission approved the purchase of some kits for trailer park location in town a few meetings ago. The purchase order went through internally, so those hopefully should be coming in the next month, and we'll get that to that location. September, we rebated almost 20 grand back to customers, and October was a little less. We had about $9,600 that was rebated back to customers. So the year-to-date rebated total back to customers is $142,454. We also conducted a walkthrough at the new Quick Trip building, and we compiled a custom rebate for them, which they should be pretty pleased with that. We did an additional energy audit at another industrial customer location. They got that report sent to them, so I'm waiting back from them with any questions and then have a follow-up meeting with them. And then we had our Public Power Week, which is always the first full week in October. We sent out some information regarding that and actually just drew, we had some giveaways, 6 giveaways we had this year. So we drew those and I contacted those individuals today. So I don't know if there's any questions with anything stated there or anything with the actual rebates balance sheet.
So is that a routine thing with Quick Trip that on the business new building that you go through and establish?
We try to, we try to contact them or they contact us. In this case, they contacted us and just inquired about what types of rebates they were eligible for. With new constructions like that, it's not necessarily replacing anything that's old with something new. So there needs to be kind of a standard baseline, which kind of changes some things up. There's newer technologies that can be installed with newer buildings like that. Especially with like convenience stores, you have all these coolers. There's special doors that could be installed that could capture savings. There's higher tech electronics and software that control the whole building that you need to find out information on to figure out how much savings is with that. And then you have lighting. You have different types of coolers or freezers. There's just numerous aspects that need to be looked at. What's that?
Do they do a lot of that?
Yeah, they're pretty good with all their stores that are similar to that are, they're the same type of floor plan as you've probably noticed driving by. It went up pretty quick. They have a lot of their ducks in a row, and they're really good at getting things done. It's because they're all pretty similar, square footage wise to the types of items that are installed that they can be rebated for. So that's why it's kind of a custom rebate. There's no rebate established for things like that. You have to go in and physically count lights, get measurements of things, get specs on different aspects of rooftop units and things like that. So
Are you the one that does that, or who does
I
that?
went along with a company that I hired that actually has done numerous Quick Trip locations. So they're actually able to capture more items than maybe I'd even be able to grasp. So
So they knew what they were looking for.
they knew what they were looking for. Yep.
Fairly routine then for a
It's-
location of that type.
Yep.
Question on the account statement for the end of the year-to-date activity. The furnace rebate and the water heater rebate, looks like they're the only categories that went negative. So does that mean we can't expense any more throughout the rest of the year?
They're so though the furnace rebate, are you looking at I'm assuming you're looking at October. Well, yeah.
Looking at 1031?
So the furnace rebate, I can capture more from that than I can say the furnace check and clean. So yeah, the furnace check and clean, the furnace rebate, the steam rebate, they're all taken from gas savings. So what I need to do now is to be careful not to go over kind of all those rebates that are grouped together in the gas, because they account for, of all this money, of this 200, I mean, there's $30,000
Yep.
is only really accounts for that. So the more I rebate for gas, I'm taking away from, it's kind of, the electric is kind of subsidizing that gas then once I go over negative on all those accounts. So it's kind of a balancing act.
Okay.
I'll make the motion to approve the energy services report.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and second to approve the energy services report. Any other questions or discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, item 3 on our agenda then is old business, and this is a report of submitted best practices for the Green Step cities.
So at the prior meeting, we went through some of these best practices and the actions within them to submit to the Green Step Cities program administrators. I did that, and what we sent to them was all approved. And what they sent back, which is the attachment to this, is kind of will be a running summary of every time we submit something. We'll probably get items attached to that. So we submitted best practice 1, which had to do with efficient existing public buildings. And that was action 1 and action 2. Action 1 was to enter data into that Minnesota B3 benchmarking database. And action 2 was had to do with indoor lighting at facilities within the city. And then with each of these actions, there's stars that are rated to each action to show this is a 1-star, 2-star, and 3-star. So for action 1, we got a 1-star. Action 2, there was 2 stars. And then the third best practice that we submitted was mobility options, and that had to do with increasing walking, biking, transit use by 1 or more of the following means. We got 3 stars for that. And as we go through different agenda items, you'll kind of see examples of what those stars kind of mean. And they're all kind of vary depending on what that best practice is. So, like I said, there's an attachment on the agenda item that kind of shows where they placed everything. And that will be a ongoing thing we will get from them once we consistently are submitting best practices and their actions. Not too much more else to say regarding that. So
Any questions or discussion?
I move we accept the best practices report from the Green Step Cities.
I'll second it.
Have a motion and second to accept the report on the submitted best practices to Green Step Cities. Any further questions or discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, under new business, since it is time of the year, we have the election of Energy Awareness Commission Chair. My understanding is we can either deal with this now or after the first of the year. I did find out that I have another term left.
Wonderful.
So the assumption is, as long as it goes through city council later this year, first of the year, that I accepted that I would still be on here. But you can still choose if you want to choose a different chair, if you want to wait, or,
You do a great job.
so, thank you.
So can we motion you in for a couple more years? What's the limit? You said one more?
I think we have to do this every year, I believe. Even if I'm on for 2 more years, it would be every year we'd have to do this, so.
I'll make the motion to nominate Jordy Veit for chair.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and second to nominate Jordy Veit for chair for 2022 of the Energy Awareness Commission. Are there any other nominations or any other discussion? All right, then. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, continuing under new business then, we have best practice 1.4. And this looks like this is one of the new ones that Derek's been working on to submit.
This best practice, this agenda item it's probably the first one that this commission went ahead on their own without, looking back at what the city or public utilities and community has done in the past to take credit. So this is kind of the first one that the Energy Awareness Commission decided to implement kind of after the city council approved Green Step Cities. So this, as overview stated, this is implement IT efforts and city employee engagement to reduce PUG loads, building energy use and workflow efficiency. So to backtrack, we decided to install what was called a vending miser on a vending machine at the Public Utilities Building. So I hooked up a Watts Up meter to that to take some readings of its wattage and kilowatt hours used. And I also found the energy use and baseline for that machine. So to summarize, down below is the savings I'll get to, but I did contact the Parks Department, Ryan Wire at the Park and Rec Department, to see if he was interested in getting some of these installed in some other of their facilities, and he is. So my thinking is to add on to this after we submit it. We could get some installed at the Vogel Fieldhouse and the Civic Center. I don't recall if the community center had any or not, but so that's an additional 3 to 4 machines that we could add these devices to, along with our material distribution center, and then from there we can add on and contact schools and whatnot. So with that said, to summarize what the energy savings was, just with that lone machine, I calculated it to be 1,612 kilowatt hour yearly savings on that one machine, which is about $192. And so these devices cost probably that to just over 200. So it's paid off in a year. And the following year or 16 months, let's say, is, money in the bank savings. So if we add on those machines that the Park and Rec adds, they could save $1,100 a month, or yearly, sorry. 9,672 kilowatts a year they'd save. So it all kind of adds up. It's a small piece, but they all add up. And that's the type of things that sometimes these Green Steps is looking for. And under the primary issues and alternatives to consider on the agenda item, there's implementation tools and star level examples. So I've included these directly from Green Step Cities, and I've put them on each agenda item. So these implementation tools are all ways that you can get ideas from or steal from to implement this type of action. And then the star level examples are once we submit something, you have an option of getting 1, 2, or 3 stars, depending on how in depth you've gone. So, we had a 3-star on the mobility options. Well, that was because we're a bike city, and all the other actions added up to 3 stars. So to get 3 stars under this action, they're looking for us to at least get to 1 star and 2 star. And what's nice of this, if we receive 1 or 2 stars as the year goes on or the next years go on, we can still go back and do other things to achieve 3 stars if we choose. So
If you do like this vending miser, and you do one of them, you get like 1 star?
yeah, I mean,
So if you do, do you get any more for doing 10 or 20
I
of
think the
them?
more you do, the more credit you'd get, more stars.
So you
But
have-
there's other options, like they give, one thing with this is they suggest a 4-day work week.
Yeah.
How that might be realistic for certain size communities and
Yeah.
whatnot, because you could probably get lots of energy savings having the whole buildings, not open, but that may not be realistic here. But there's lots of other things with IT departments,
I was just wondering if
Yeah.
if they keep track of how many, for instance, the misers they use, if you've got a whole lot of them, if they give you extra credit for that.
Yeah, I think they would. I mean, the city of St. Paul did this. That's one reason why we kind of decided to doing this. And then I happened to find 2 of these devices in my kind of warehouse area. They received 3 stars, but they had purchased quite a few, if I don't recall, and it was thousands of dollars worth of them. So they obviously did get more credit. So yeah, that overview along with my Excel spreadsheet showing the data savings or the savings from the data is what's going to be submitted to them, Green Step Cities. Any additional questions?
Looks good.
Any other questions or discussion?
I'll make the motion to approve best practice actions 1.4, implement IT efforts in city employee engagement to reduce plug loads, building energy use, and workflow efficiency.
Second it?
We have a motion and second to approve the best practice action 1.4 to implement IT efforts in city employees' engagement to reduce plug loads, building energy use, and workflow efficiency. Any questions or discussion? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passed, motion approved. Next item on the agenda then is a similar item, but with best practice 27.3.
So 27.3 it focuses on local food. Everything on the agenda item that's in blue it's obviously a website. So when these get submitted to Green Step Cities, you can attach descriptive links that help kind of describe your story or where you got your information to help them at Green Steps kind of understand more where you're going with your submitted information. So those links, I'm not sure I can include all those. I might only give you an option to one, but one of those will be included So one of the major aspects of this best practice was to summarize what the city has done already. I think that's a 1-star level. And then report supporting actions additionally. So that's kind of what this bullet point is. We have the KNUJ's Farmers Market, which is 18 weeks of the year. We have when the public high school built their new building, they put a greenhouse, a hydroponic and aquaponic systems, and then later on they attached 10 kWAC solar system attached to that. And they also sell, or they have in the past, sold seedlings and produce and flowers from there. We have the New Ulm Community Market and Cooperative, the member-owned food co-op that operates in downtown, and they're open year-round, 4 days a week, as far as I recall. The CSA's Community Sustained Agriculture. There might be more than what I have listed here, but they're all within 5 to 25 miles of the town of New Ulm. And also, I think star number 3 to get credit for that, between having a CSA drop-off point for citizens, a healthy food source such as the farmer's market and community garden, is NAICS code 445110, which is types of grocery stores and what they sell needs to be within so many miles of people. And we have, from what I've researched, at least 4 or 5 locations. And then we also have our community garden, which is 70 different plots at about 100 square feet each. So all this information here compiled should, I would think, give us 3 stars for the resilient economic and community development local food portion of the Green Step Cities.
Question, that acronym NAICS for the 4 codes, do you know what that means?
No, I don't. Not off the top of my head. I know it has to do with all industries have a code, and that code signifies what type of industry they're in.
And those grocery stores comply with that code.
Yes, from what I found. Yeah, so all industries and all businesses fall under a code. And, in this case, these types of grocery stores fit into these 2 codes, which have to do with this type of food they're looking for with the Green Step Cities, which is having, whether it's organic food or locally grown type food.
Sure.
Any other questions or discussion around the best practice 27.3? Otherwise, I'd be looking for a motion.
I'll make it.
Seconded?
I have a motion and second to approve best practice 27.3, resilient economic and community development of local foods, strengthen local food and fiber production and access. Any other questions or discussion? All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, next item on the agenda under new business is Green Step Cities Best Practice 5.1.
Best practice 5.1 is a building redevelopment and adopt a historic preservation ordinance, which, excuse me, we have. Green Step Cities Best Practice 5.1 addresses communities' need to preserve historic buildings. The step within Green Step Cities program focuses on the conservation of resources, waste reduction, and monetary savings by repairing and reusing existing structures instead of demolishing and building new ones. By reusing an existing building versus demolishing, a community can greatly reduce its carbon footprint of a building. As shown in the attachment, the city of New Ulm has done the following. So the last bulletin point where it says best practice 5.1, that's the summary of what I'm going to be sending to them. These first bullet points are kind of taken from that. Establish a list of historic landmarks, compose downtown preservation design guidelines, registered buildings on the National Register of Historic Places, we're a certified local government, establish Heritage Preservation Commission. So that's kind of summary of the key points of the larger body part of this agenda item. And then attached to that is the design guidelines that the Heritage Preservation Commission had hired out and compiled in 2018. That is what I'm going to send along to them, along with, I think, a link to, on the city's webpage, to the ordinance and or the Heritage Preservation Committee information on the city's webpage. And then, of course, like the other agenda items, there's implementation tools and the star level examples. And as you can see, number 3, for 3-star, become a certified local government, which we are. That might be another link that I could possibly send to them to show it, kind of like I did with the mobility options, a link to that agency's main website that lists everybody.
I'll make the motion to approve best practice 5.1, building redevelopment, adopt historic preservation ordinance.
Second?
The motion and second to approve the best practice 5.1, building redevelopment, adopt historic preservation ordinance. Any other questions or discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is Green Step City's best practice 18.8. This is environment management, parks and trails.
This best practice, as you can see from what the star levels kind of went off of those to find some things to put underneath these bold bullet points. There's different questions within that best practice and those actions, kind of almost like as a question. So what's in bold is kind of that, and I put what we've done as a community underneath those to kind of show that we've hit those and met those requirements. So example 1, in addition to cleanup and removal of exotics, engage community members in annual restoration of natural areas. Well, we have volunteering efforts. Jordy actually does some that we could include in here. And we have our buckthorn removal. We have Adopt a Park. We have other items like that that fit under that part of the best practice. Create and fund an annual citywide event for cleanup and restoration. I'm not sure if this meets it or not, but I think from what other cities have done, they've been able to get by doing things like this. We have the Puppet Wagon. And we also have the New Ulm Rec and Go, which brings community engagement to different parts of the city that aren't necessarily close to a park type. And then we have the Pollinator Park that has events that brings awareness to promote, healthy environment and pollinators, and that's also staffed by volunteers mostly. A lot of people from the garden club work out there, and they hold quite a few events out there.
All right, thanks for the information, Derek. Are there any other questions or discussion around best practice 18.8?
I move we approve the Green Step City's best practices 18.8.
Second.
A motion and second to approve Green Step City's best practice 18.8. Any other questions or discussion? Right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is commissioner comments. Does anybody have any comments on anything or questions? Anything to bring up? It's the only thing I would kind of put out there, and this deals with what we're dealing with. As far as Derek, do you need more guidance from us on Green Step Cities or on what we want to look at further? Or are you sitting good with what we've talked about so far?
Well, we have more items that I know that are on my back burner. Once I get these submitted, there'll be another list of 3 or 4 usually.
Okay.
But that doesn't mean that we can't be looking at things, outside of what, right now we're looking at what have we done as a community out of this numerous big list of things. I think consistently, whether it's community engagement or with the Energy Awareness Commission, things that we want to look at, kind of like we did with the vending miser, kind of try to tackle some things, kind of get that ball rolling. So it's not just kind of look back and see what we've done, but look forward and see what we could be doing. So if anybody has
Yeah.
any issues, not issues, but ideas within these best practice actions, just have to let me know. We don't have to
Okay.
wait till, every other month to start looking at things.
I think you've done some pretty good reporting, just looking at some of these here, quite a bit of detail, especially this last practice here.
Mhm.
Takes credit for a lot that's been done. Good job.
Yep. Thank you. Any other comments or questions? All right, with that, I'd be looking for a motion to adjourn.
I'll move.
Second?
Motion and second to adjourn. Any other questions or discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.